次はソースマップっていうロジスティクスの方のすごく面白いプロジェクトで、レオナード・ボナーニさんのプレゼンテーションなんですけれども、それでまあ、どうぞ。でこういうスタートアップをもう少しやりやすいように、うちも新しいプログラムいろいろ考えていて、ぜひ皆さんにもそういう企画に参加していただきたいと思いますので、来年今年のミーティングで発表したいと思いますけど、どうぞ始めて。
Thank you, Joy. It's an honor to speak before all of you today about something that's very dear to me, Sourcemap. Sourcemap is a revolutionary platform for supply chain transparency, and it's the direct outcome of my work in Professor Ishii's group at the Media Lab, and it's fitting to be able to present Sourcemap at an event with this theme, the power of open, because Sourcemap is very much rooted in the idea of transparency and openness, specifically around products and what they're made of. I want to talk for a little moment about an idea called the right to know, which is an extension of the idea of transparency and openness to objects, to the everyday products we use. The right to know is an idea that came out of the environmental movement, that people have a right to know if the products that they are exposed to are dangerous in any way. And it's something that we are very much trying to push to another level. You probably have seen the outcome of the right to know movement in various kinds of warnings and signs that are provided to people who work in manufacturing, for example, to know if products are flammable or toxic. If you've been to the Republic of California, you've seen these somewhat useless signs everywhere that say that there are toxic products in your environment. Now, this is a powerful idea that has not really matured, except in cases where you actually can see that a product is toxic, and it makes you think twice about whether or not would you buy those toys for your children, given that you know that they cause birth defects or other reproductive harm. Sourcemap is really about expanding the right to know. Now, very few people have the right to know today, and I would argue everybody deserves it. Consumers are being exposed to an incredible amount of chemicals and toxic compounds in everyday products, even in toys and food. Brands are increasingly exposed to risks in their supply chains by companies that are their suppliers, and their suppliers, companies they don't really have direct control over. Entire industries are victims of not knowing exactly what they're buying and what they're putting in their products, and they're facing shortages, price fluctuations, problems in quality. And ultimately, governments are scrambling to find a way to answer the question of whether the products that are being sold are in fact good for people or for the environment. There is a push. People are shooting around the target to try to find the answer to whether the products we have every day are actually good for us. And you can see a number of laws and initiatives around the world to report on carbon footprint, water footprint, the presence of rare minerals. All of these issues are rooted around one thing and one thing only, which is supply chains. And if we know supply chains, we can understand whether the products are good for us or not. Now, about 5 years ago, I started mapping supply chains, making things called source maps. This was the first source map. It was one of my computer. If you hold the computer that you're all holding in your hand, you're holding a box of treasures. You're holding dozens of the rarest materials in the world. They've flown around, and they've ended up in your hands. And even back then, looking at that map, I could already see some of the biggest problems that have hit the electronics industry since then. Problems such as shortages of materials like indium or tin. Problems like all of the rare earth metals being sourced in one country, China. Problems like conflict in the Congo, which is tainting the source of many essential minerals. And based on that, we released a prototype, a website that was made for my students, actually, my sustainable design students, so that they could wrap their heads around the impact of products before they even started to make them. And this was Sourcemap about 2.5 years ago, a website that would show you where products come from. And based on that, it could do some calculation to show the carbon footprint from manufacturing, from use, from end of life. And it was a very powerful proof of concept because as soon as we showed it to the sponsors at the Media Lab, thank you, they said, well, can you show us what our supply chain looks like? Can you tell me what the impact of the products that I'm selling is? And it's a very, very powerful idea, especially since so few people have seen this kind of information about products. Now, based on Sourcemap, we've extended the idea of the right to know. People have the right to know where things come from, what they're made of, and what their impact is to society and the environment. Why? If you know where things come from, this is a map that was created by a researcher on sourcemap.com of an IKEA bed. If you know where the parts come from, you can calculate life cycle assessment, which is the most accurate way to calculate environmental impact today. You calculate the energy taken to extract materials, to manufacture, to ship, to use a product, and to throw it away. And if you click on the button that says the footprint at the bottom, it'll show you exactly which part of the supply chain contributed how much to the overall carbon footprint. We can do that today for water as well. This is a supply chain of a cotton shirt from Peru reaching the United States. And you can see the carbon footprint is the greatest in the consumer, in the use phase of the product. But the water footprint is the greatest in the farming, the cotton farming itself. The first user of Sourcemap taught me something much more important. Of course we can calculate things, but we can also trust the products we're buying. We can trust their source. Once you know where things come from, you can really trust that you're buying the right product. And he did it, he's a restaurant owner, by mapping the sources of all the ingredients in the food he was selling. Today, through the API on our website, you're seeing hundreds and thousands of farms being uploaded by websites and by users and by restaurants all over the world, so that we're building a real knowledge of where foodstuffs come from, and that you can trust the products that have been made here because you can know exactly who made them for you. And you can visit them, you can reach out to them, you can contact them. We're seeing a push towards, and these are maps that have been created by people on our crowdsourced platform. I've never met these people, but they've already shown, you know, the network of milk distribution in India, the network of oranges that become Tropicana orange juice. This is the first time that people are able to map upstream sourcing all the way to the farms and then show distribution all the way to the stores all over the world that sell this product. And what's even more amazing is how many different ways people have found to use this platform. Once you have the right to know, you can share what you're doing that sets you apart from your competition. This is a shoe company that made a map a month ago on Sourcemap showing their corporate social responsibility. This is showing that for every shoe you buy, they donate a shoe in a country where somebody doesn't have one. And they've put in a video showing in every country the efforts that they've taken. This is a real competitive differentiator for them. And this is a viral media solution. So we have small businesses going on the site right now, registering, mapping their supply chain. This is a fashion designer who sells at Barney's in New York who has shown you the sheep that the wool comes from in the clothes that you buy, printed the QR code, put it on the label, and then the map's been embedded in blogs on the news. The QR code has made it to Vogue. This is really differentiating himself, setting himself apart through transparency. The opposite is even true. We have customers of brands going onto Sourcemap and making maps of the products that they're fans of. That's a level of engagement that was never before possible. And the CEO of this deodorant company is excited. He's tweeting that his customers are actually reverse engineering his supply chain. So this is the new reality through Sourcemap. Either you put out your supply chain, or there's a good chance someone else will do it for you.